Thank you, Madam Chair. You are now live.
All right, thank you very much. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee meeting for April 15th. It is 10 a.m. on the dot. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's 10:02. Good morning and welcome, everybody. It's going to be a gorgeous day, sunny and a high of 12 degrees. It's 1 degree right now, so it's a beautiful morning. Welcome, and we're going to start off by getting everyone to go around the table and introduce yourselves, just so we can check your mics and your video. We're going to start off with my vice chair, Councillor Sam Austin. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Ms. Chair. I hope everything is working here and you can hear me just fine.
Looking good. Thank you so much. Councillor Trish Purdy, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Well, good to be here. Nice to see everyone.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Lindell Smith, good morning and welcome, sir.
Good morning, everybody. And I love that the radio will never leave you, Chair.
I was just saying to Simon, this is like hosting a talk show. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Councillor Patty Cuddle.
Good morning, everyone. And I was out there in the sun this morning going for a walk and ran into Lavender Fulton and got a very good education on birdsong this morning. So I encourage everyone to get out and listen for the birds. It's amazing right now.
Excellent. Thank you. And I understand we might have a couple of guests on the line with us. We have Councillor Way Mason. Are you joining us this morning? Well, perhaps not. And Councillor Paul Russell perhaps was joining us as well. All right, we'll check back with them later to see if they are joining us, but we're going to move on to item number 2, the approval of minutes from February 18th meeting. And I'm going to throw it over to our clerk, Simon Ross-Siegel. Simon, I guess we have some corrections to the minutes.
So, Madam Chair, I think you may have missed me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I am so sorry. Councillor Pam Lovelace, you're here.
Yes, I am.
Terribly sorry.
From City Hall, and actually Way and I, Councillor Mason and I were just in a meeting together. So he's left over there. He may pop in here.
Perfect. So sorry about that. All right. And Simon, now the approval of minutes with the corrections that need to be made.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, there were two brief corrections to bring to the February 18th draft minutes. The header with times incorrectly stated 11:32 p.m. is the adjournment time, which should be 11:32 a.m. And the call to order makes a note that the meeting was held in Council Chamber, 3rd floor, City Hall, whereas it was a virtual meeting. Those are the two corrections.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Clerk. So looking for someone to move the minutes as adjusted.
So moved, Madam Chair. Councillor Lovelace.
Moved by Councillor Lovelace, seconded by Councillor Cuddle. Beautiful. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. All right, number 3, the approval of the order of business and the approval of additions and deletions. And once again, deferring to our clerk, Simon, I guess we do have an item that is to be deleted for the meeting today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, item 12.1.2, noise management and mitigation in downtown areas, Argyle Street Entertainment District. This item was initially put on the agenda as a to be circulated report. Staff later corrected and noted that they were going to pull that for now and bring that to a future meeting. So we just need a motion to delete it from this agenda.
All right, so I'm guessing that it's just enough to say looking to move the order of business and approval of additions and deletions as amended.
I so move, Madam Chair.
All right, moved by Councillor Lovelace, seconded by?
I'll second.
Councillor Purdy, thank you very much. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. So we've got our agenda is set. Business arising out of the minutes, we have none. Call for declaration of conflict of interest. Anybody with a conflict of interest, declare it now. And seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, motions of reconsideration. We have none. Motions of rescission, we have none. And consideration of deferred business, there is none. Notices of tabled matters, we have none. Correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Mr. Clerk, 10.1 correspondence. Do we have any correspondence from the clerk's office?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was one item of general correspondence, not related to a specific item on today's agenda, and that has been circulated with the agenda package to all members of Community Planning and Economic Standing Committee.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. 10.2 petitions. Mr. Clerk, do you have any petitions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. None received from the clerk's office.
All right. Do any of our councillors have petitions to present today? No. All right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to 10.3 presentations, and 10.3.1. First up is Blue Mountain Birch Cove update. And joining us this morning is Diana Whalen on behalf of the board of the Friends of Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes. Diana Whalen is here this morning with Dale Smith and Mary Ellen Donovan. And I do believe you have a presentation as well. And turn the table over to you. Diana Whalen, welcome. Is Diana there?
Unmute, done. Have you got my camera?
There.
I don't have my camera yet either. My 2 instructions.
There we go.
There you go. I can.
There we go. Awesome. Good morning,
Mary Ellen and Dale. So thank you very much
Beautiful.
for introducing my fellow board members that are with me today. And we are just delighted as members of the board of the Friends of Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes to be able to come and address the council or committee today. I think many of you know us. We communicated with everybody during the election that had just passed in the fall, and many of the councillors prior to that as well have met us. I know Patty and I met actually at the market when we had a booth set up for Friends of Blue Mountain, and spoke to her about it then. So, and Pam, of course, in Hammonds Plains has a lot of background with us. But we thank all of you for the support that council has shown to Blue Mountain Birch Cove and the motions that have come before council in the last year. Today, I wanted to really, with the 10-minute limit and wanting to respect your time, we have 2 key points that are going to, we hope, come out through the presentation. Number one is that Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes is a tremendous economic asset. We're trying to be cognizant of your role as community planning and economic development, but this is an asset it's on par with your waterfront and vibrant downtown as an attraction for people who want to come and live and work in Halifax. And I know it's something that really, bears mention whenever the city's being promoted, because it is such a unique and large wilderness in the middle of an urban area. So number one, an economic asset. Number two, it is that this asset can't be realized fully without a plan, and that the plan for the whole area is missing. It's a 31-kilometer radius around the perimeter, 31-kilometer perimeter. It's 13 kilometers from Hammonds Plains to Bears Lake, and all of that is wilderness and it's untouched. And there's 22 lakes back there. It needs a big plan. If I leave you with one message today, it's that this is not business as usual for the city and the parks planners. They're used to much smaller projects and going into a neighborhood and providing individual parks and so on. This requires a big plan. So that I hope will come out as we go through. You'll notice that the first slide on my presentation is the slide up. I've sent the slides to, I'm looking for that. Simon has the presentation. I'm sorry. There we go. Thanks a lot. So the first slide you may recognize, it was the March cover of Business Voice, which is the Chamber of Commerce magazine. And we were so excited to see the business community recognizing the value of Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes. And this article in the paper, which is the feature story in this edition, is about Blue Mountain. It's specifically about the Nature Trust land that was purchased last December, I think it was, and with the support of the city. So we just thought it was really significant that it is the cover of this magazine very recently. So I wonder if you could switch slides to the next one, please. Next slide. The next slide is the map that actually was used for the Nature Trust purchase and also for the support when they were advertising this and looking for public support, which they did get. Just as a reminder, since not everybody was there on council last July, this came to council in July. The council agreed to provide $750,000 towards a $2.4 million land purchase. So, you know, about 30 cents on the dollar and tremendous value for the city in leveraging that piece. And I just wanted to, this is my opportunity to give a little history and also a snapshot of where we're at in the acquisition of lands. The green land that you can see in this one, all the part that's green is the provincial wilderness lands. And the province designated those lands in 2009 and extended further up to the Nature Trust corner in 2015. And that was really done because the city had signaled it would be a regional park area, and they put that in the 2006 regional plan. And so with that commitment, the province took their crown land and protected it. Now we have two other landowners here, and the pink or beige kind of lands that you see in there are owned by HRM, and there's just over 500 acres there that are HRM, 513 acres that have been purchased by HRM. Those were purchased in 2018 and 2019. And the more recent purchases were really facilitated by the federal government providing $860,000 through the Nature Fund. So, you know, that was again a really good example of partnering and working together. So we're thrilled with seeing some progress around the area, that it is growing, but it's growing slowly. And I just have to point that out, that it was put in the regional plan in 2006, and these first pieces were picked up in 2018, and nothing since, well, 2 years now, since April 2019. So we're concerned about that. We're really, again, encouraging the city to do more partnering if Nature Trust or other groups are coming to the table, as you did last year. And we thank you for that very much. But really, it's an example of success in partnering, but it also shows the complexity because you now have 3 different landowners within the protected area. So we're also, one of our requests is that you work at coordinating. And the only handout we sent, Madam Chair, was the 7 points. We have 7 points that we think will help achieve this park. And that's a fairly short document. We hope you'll have a look at it. I'm not speaking to it directly, but one of them is you need a plan that will coordinate with the other landowners, with the province, with their wilderness area, with Nature Trust, with community, so that we can leverage the benefits of this asset. So we really want to thank the city. That would be the #1 message on this slide. Thank you for helping the Nature Trust to achieve what they did, and recognizing there's public support, very strong public support for this area, because they were able to get a lot of public donations as well to make that happen. So the final thing is that the total land area that we have there now is on the slide, 5,441 acres already under protection and kept as wilderness. So that's a very huge asset as it is, but it's not the full vision. So if we could have the next slide, please, that would be great. This slide is actually the formally approved conceptual park area. And this is in the 2014 regional plan. When the plan was updated in 2014, it was again adopted by council at that time and reaffirmed. This map came before council again last year in 2020, when the idea of what exactly do you see as the vision for Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes came before council. And this map was again reaffirmed by council in 2020. So it's really a very important map from the perspective of what's our goal or our aim. And you can see that this one is 7,700 acres. So there is, more land needs to be acquired, I guess, is the big point to take from this. You could see we've got a very good piece to begin with, especially with the 4,500 acres from the province. But anyway, this is the aim right now. And I want to make the point, this is on par with any major project that you would undertake, to acquire this amount of land and to put together a comprehensive and sort of cohesive plan for a park that could be reached from many corners of HRM. So it's big and it's complex and it needs planning. And that is really the point I would make. Right now, there isn't a plan or dedicated resources to look at the entirety of this as a regional park. the way it has. So, you know, a little concerned about the pace of our moving, because we've acquired a little over 500 acres from the city over a 15-year period since 2006. It really just began 3-4 years ago in 2018. So it's kind of slow. We want to keep the momentum going, and that's why Friends of Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes was formed. Could we go to the next slide, please? That would be great. And I've got some pictures on my next slide coming up. And you're all very familiar with this. Many years ago, I was a city councilor, and I had the opportunity to visit areas like this when Larry Utech was under development, and the upper parts of Clayton Park West that I represent. So it's a familiar sight for those of us that have been on council or live in these neighborhoods. But these pictures show us particularly Bedford West, which is growing, as you would know, very, very fast. It's selling and being developed much faster than Clayton developments originally expected. It's just a reflection of the demand for housing, and also, I say, the demand to live close to a wilderness area. Rockingham South is also shown there. It's 5 minutes from some of the points where you can get into Blue Mountain Birch Cove around Carney Lake. And also you see Carney Lake at the bottom, which used to be, if you looked out, it would just be like you were in the country. But now there are many large, big, dense apartment buildings coming on the edge of Carney Lake. So thousands more people are coming to the area, and they're discovering our trails. And I have to say, there's no official trailhead anywhere. 15 years after the intent to name Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes as a regional park area, we don't have any proper parking lots and trailheads to accommodate the people that are coming. And I think you all know that with the COVID pandemic, people have more than ever been seeking out the opportunity to walk in nature. And we've seen it on the trails that we monitor and keep an eye on. So again, it just shows the city's booming. People want to live near nature, and we believe that you have a tremendous asset that we're not developing, since we still don't have those proper points for people to get in there. And it is just an example of the impact on our economy, though, I think, to see the proximity to nature. We can go to the next slide if you would. And I'm not sure how my time is, Simon, but perhaps you'll signal me when I've got a minute or two. Thanks. This is actually just a snapshot of one of your information reports, and it came on the very same day that the Nature Trust land was being debated last July. So it was never pulled forward by any of the councillors. It was a busy meeting, and I think it just came as an information report. So it's not something that you have discussed as a council. But what I wanted to point out was one main point that comes just jumping out at us when we looked at this update, which is an annual update the council receives. The big takeaway for us was that the strategy that's being undertaken to acquire lands and open up trailheads is to move when a developer makes a decision to bring in their applications. So any areas around the perimeter of this 31-kilometer park area, anytime one of those owners says, I'm ready to move, or has made a decision to move and develop, in comes a development application, and that's when city staff begin to look at the 10% park dedication, which is a standard thing for any subdivision, and starts to consider what would the entrance look like and so on. And we see that up in Brookline. We've been up there in that very busy subdivision looking. There is a little trail that's begun, and we can see there's plans for, I would say, a small parking lot. And, you know, we're not doing that comprehensive plan about where's the best place to have a major parking lot, a bigger place where people from further afield can come in. You know, I won't go down that road, but you know how busy it gets if people are all coming into a little neighborhood. If that's the only entrance, that's where they'll drive to. So we need a bigger plan for sure. And it's just that tying your time frame for development of this park to really what is piecemeal applications coming in and the decisions being made by developers is really not the way to make a major project unfold. We just feel that any other big project that the city undertook, like say a BMO center or the Canada Games Center, in those instances, you brought together a team of experts in the city, you had a dedicated budget, and you had a timeline and a process in order
Thank you,
to
Ms. Wilt. About 1 minute remaining.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave that slide. We'll go to the next one quickly so you can have a quick look at some beautiful scenes from Blue Mountain. There's several pictures on that if you keep going, Simon, they'll just pop up. There's 4. The 4th one is actually a picture of the mayor, and I hope your a picture of us isn't covering the mayor, because he's out canoeing on Susie's Lake, which is just 20 minutes walking behind Kent Building Supplies. And it really is what we say a mini Kedzie experience. So our point here is just that the public wants to get out and use this year round. It has such potential for health and benefits. And COVID has shown us more than ever how lucky we are to have these areas within HRM, that proximity to wilderness. So I just want you to see it as an economic driver and as an attraction to people who want to come and live here. Could we go to the last slide, please? I may not have much time. So this is really what, a simple slide asking for a few things. Some of these points are embedded in the 7 action points that we'd like the city to look at. First and foremost, that prepare a park concept plan. And, I know there's been some public consultation done around the entranceways in Hammonds Plains, particularly Brookline. And that was done just recently, an online survey, but we need an idea of the concept of this park. What do the public see? What sort of use do they want to have of it? How much, public or how much impact from people, and how much preservation of wilderness? You can only find that out by talking to people, and also studying where the best access points are before they're built up and we've lost the opportunity. That's the other thing. If we don't think in advance about where the lay of the land is best, or there's actually, the right places to get in, we need to plan it now, because the land is being developed and changed around the outside. So, the 3rd point there, fast track the coordinating committee. That's also on the 7 points. But the coordinating committee is the idea of bringing together Nature Trust and the province and working closely. And I will acknowledge there's been more discussion going on between your parks planning people and the environment protected areas. They are starting to talk more. We've been asking for that. And I'm happy to say we like to acknowledge when things are going in that direction. But I think a coordinating committee would allow this issue to be front and center. It would prevent one department from making decisions that are harmful to the park, while the other department doesn't know about it. For example, when all of the land—
10 minutes has elapsed.
Okay, it's done. We need resources and funding. Maybe we can go to the last slide, and I'd be happy to take any questions and also that's why Mary Ellen and Dale are with me. 3 of us will be happy to take questions.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for the presentation. And yes, do any members of the committee have questions? If so, just indicate in the chat that you have a question, and we'll get you set up. All right, Councillor Lovelace, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for this presentation, Diana. This is, as you know, being the Council for Hammonds Plains, St. Margaret's Bay, this is an extremely important asset. And so I really do appreciate the 3 of you coming here today to present. This is an ongoing conversation, as you know, and as you've indicated, it is a huge chunk of land, and to create a plan with regards to this large asset, this incredible asset that we have, includes a partnership with the province. It includes partnership with communities. It includes partnership, of course, with regional council to move those things forward. Obviously, I think everyone here at this table, as well as regional council, knows that we need to have that plan. But that being said, in looking at your list, I'm happy to report that a number of these have already been ticked off. Number 1's been done. Number 2 is in process. Conversations are happening. There's a team building, to create that senior level coordinating committee between the province and the various different departments there, as well as our park staff and provincial staff. And of course, the regional plan is extremely important. The survey that went out for Brookline, we are sharing that. I'm sure Friends is also sharing that to, encourage people to fill that survey out. And in addition, we're also very, protective of this park. I had a great meeting just yesterday to help staff understand the importance of getting ahead of the game with regards to wildfires and campfires in the wilderness area. And so an education campaign will be released before the May long weekend for sure, to help people understand that, you know, campfires are not permitted there. And we need to rely on the folks who are going back there to understand the regulations that are in place. They don't know if they're on provincial land or if they're on HRM land. They just know they're in a wilderness area. So that's also really important. And we do need your support to push that out. But you also know, of course, that we're in budget period. And so having those discussions at budget in regards to what resources do we have, what does staff need in order to move this forward as well is extremely important. And my last note, Madam Chair, is to also say that I have asked Premier Rankin to set aside Highway 113, that TIR land, as a formal trailheads. You know, part of the issue with moving this forward is wondering what's the province going to do with Highway 113. You know, what will that do to cut that northern section from that larger area of the Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes Wilderness area? And so, you know, I guess my question to you is, will you be making the same presentation to the province, or have you already done that? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor Lovelace. Diana.
I guess I'll start. We haven't made this presentation. This was specially for you, this particular one. As you know, we make presentations to the community groups like the Rotary and so on. We've done a couple of those on Zoom, and so still continuing during this time. But we are, you know, our mission, we're really an advocacy group. We're friends of a park that doesn't yet exist. Not properly. The wilderness is there, but it's not a park yet. It has no park plan, no management plan, so on, no trailheads. So we have a lot of work to do. And yes, that is one of our concerns. We haven't had our major emphasis on the province because the province has already dedicated all of their land. And I know it was easier for them in a sense because they owned Crown land, but they have taken it out of use. It's not going to be sold. It's not going to be an economic cash cow, I guess, for them, but they see the value of it. They understand the wilderness and the need to protect it. On your point about Highway 113, we will ask, I think that's really great that you've asked the Premier. He is a neighboring MLA as well. His riding includes Timberley, which is part of this area. And we will certainly ask him as well and back you up. I think it's wonderful that your request came from the city. And we've also been meeting the federal members just recently. We've been talking to our federal MPs this week. So we'll continue with that to get they're very supportive as well. Mary Ellen or Dale, did you have any addition? Oh, you're muted, Mary Ellen, too.
In fact, the meetings with the province have been ongoing. We have a fairly regular communications with the protected areas of the province. One of our big problems right now, and this is the reason for the request for a dedicated resource, is staff have told us they have no time to meet the Friends of Blue Mountain. And so, you know, that is a huge issue if we're to move this park forward. If staff don't have the resources to speak to us and meet with us, you know, not that we can't move forward, and we are talking to our federal partners, and we are talking to the province, but the city is really the big group that we haven't had as much opportunity as we would like to talk to. And it has been 2 years since there's been any acquisitions. We are, and we did initiate a potential donation of a piece of land with respect to the park that's now going to go to the Nature Trust. So we are doing our bit to try and make these acquisitions happen, but there, of course, we can't write a check. So there's a limit to what we can do. But with respect to the public consultations, the survey was fantastic. Really appreciated the survey, but it is no replacement for proper public consultations. Doesn't come close. And so I think on that comment, which is fairly blunt, I'll leave my comments. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Any further questions, Councillor Lovelace?
No, thank you. I will just say that both Councillor Stoddard and I are willing to continue our relationship and growing the communications with you and bringing forward concerns that we're hearing from residents, working with staff and moving this park forward. We're committed to that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Councillor Cuddle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Diana and Mary Ellen and Dale for being here today and giving this presentation. And also thank you for all your dedicated efforts over the years and continuing to pursue this, the creation of this park. It's not just a benefit to people today, but really for future generations. And, dedicating parkland like this now is, is critical to helping shape and give form and meaning to our city, particularly as we're experiencing this incredible surge in growth. So, now is the time to protect this land, because once it's gone, we all know that getting it back is near impossible. So, I do know the city is working through some ongoing legal issues in regards to land around this park, and that is critically important. And so that I know is being done. The thing that I think is really important right now is the trailheads. We have this land; it's protected. We've seen incredible increase in demand for people wanting to access parks and wilderness areas, and that without kind of well-marked trailheads that are properly designed and signed, it can cause stress on the surrounding communities, as we've seen, in wilderness areas all across HRM, and also really impedes access for those who might be looking to go and explore an area, not be familiar with it, and have zero idea of how to actually get in there and go for a hike. So in terms of the trailheads, what do you see as needing to happen specifically related to the trailheads, to get those in place in the kind of short term? There's kind of the short term actions versus kind of the long term. But is there anything that can be done in the short term to help address that issue?
I think perhaps Dale. Do you think Mary Ellen, Dale is best placed to answer that question?
Sure.
Dale, you'd have to unmute as well.
Sorry, I've been dropped from the call a couple of times, so I've missed some of the discussion.
You heard this question?
Yes, I did. So the big issue, as Diana pointed out in her presentation, is the lack of an overall plan, because that sets the stage for how the access should occur, and whether the park is a very much a wilderness-oriented park, or if it's more encouraging of development and recreational use. And of course, that plays out in terms of how the access should be designed. So. In terms of the way we're proceeding, sort of subdivision by subdivision, we can only work on the basis of that one particular area that is under development, such as the Brookline area. We have a parking lot there that is going to be developed soon. So it's a piecemeal approach if that's the way we proceed. So the big issue is the overall plan, from my perspective at least.
And I would just say, we've done a little looking at it ourselves, some studying about where it would be. Our fear is that the best places for the larger trailheads may be gone if we don't sort of identify them and prepare for them. Even if you don't build them today, prepare and make sure you have the land, because there's elevation issues. Right now, you're building a trailhead in Bears Lake behind the stores in Bears Lake. There is an adjacent part to the park, but it's got a great big ledge. It's up much higher. I'm not sure how this is going to be a smooth trail in. We'll have to wait and see, but the elevation is not right now from where you would be parking to where you want to get into the park. So it's just the idea of finding the right topography, the right areas to go into, the ones that are close to highways that people could come in, park, and then enjoy the wilderness. So there's a lot to be looking at, because I fully agree, you need neighborhood access points that are smaller and handy, but you also need to think about the regional aspect of this park.
And I would make two additional comments, and that is that there was a plan done in 2012 by city staff with respect to where the accesses would be, and they identified 3 levels of access. The smallest one being a local access, and then the largest one being a regional access, and then an access that would be halfway between those two. So, and there was a lot of work. At least this is what former staff have told us, is that there was a lot of work put into that plan. And as far as we can tell, it's been largely, really, it's not being considered, it's not being looked at, it's certainly not being worked on. So, so we've been encouraging people to take a look at this previous work done by the city and try and move on that. But when you're tied up with this decision by developers, the way I look at it, decision by developer approach, which is rather than the comprehensive approach we think you need when you're dealing with a major asset that the province has contributed something like $20 million already by virtue of its dedication of 4,300 acres. You know, they've lost out on the sale of that land to at least that extent. That's a very conservative number. So that's point number one. Point number two, with respect to the ledge comment, the ledge didn't used to exist. There was no previous elevation problem accessing the park in the Bonk area until Bonk put the ledge in and excavated all the land in what was supposed to be a 10-acre piece of land dedicated as a trailhead. And we can't seem to get any answer as to what the final elevations are going to be. Nobody seems to have a plan on what those final elevations are going to be, why the elevation was created, the difference in elevation was created in the first place, and a lot of money spent on creating that problem. But there has to be, presumably, you don't spend money unless you've got a really good reason. But we can't seem to get any answers on that. So that just is a small sample of the numerous problems that the 31-kilometer perimeter puts in front of us.
All right. Thank you very much. You good, Councillor Cuddle?
I am. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Ms. Chair, and thank you to the Friends for coming in and presenting to us today. I think it's a timely presentation because, as Councillor Lovelace noticed, there are staff reports pending on a variety of these actually on a variety of these points, from trailheads to a strategy to boundaries of the park. So there's a fair bit actually that's been requested of council of staff on this. So the piece that I just want to ask a little bit more about is the parkland acquisition piece. And I'm just mainly I'm wondering from the Friends' point of view what it is specifically that HRM is lacking there, because from my perspective over the last couple of years, what I have seen from HRM in terms of strategy for acquisition, I believe we hit every landowner in the immediate kind of that so-called core area. There's some dispute as to, well, what's core, what's perimeter, what really are we going after? But one of the unfortunate realities of the situation is you need a willing buyer and willing seller, and we have not exactly had always willing sellers. I mean, we're getting sued by one landowner quite aggressively, so it would be really nice to be able to finish acquiring the park, but I'm just not sure, that the problem is entirely just been, well, we haven't been allocating money in the budget, or there's insufficient resources. I think it's more needing those willing sellers in place. And it's wonderful to have the activity of the Nature Trust, because that charity piece, as we saw with the Shaw Wilderness, having a charity involved potentially opens up doors that as a municipality are just not available to us. And so I'm just wondering from the Friends what it is exactly that they feel that has been lacking in terms of a municipal acquisition piece, because I don't think it's money, my money or anything myself. My sense is it's the willing seller, and so I'm curious if they feel that there's something else at play. Thank you.
Who would like to take that one? Dale, is that one you'd like to tackle, or shall I go?
You can go on that one.
Okay. I think what a lot of our planning that we're talking about, Councillor Austin, is to see that we've looked at where are the most beneficial areas, and And I think you start with that, then you speak to the landowners around. And I'm aware and really do appreciate there's a great complexity throughout this whole area, the number of different landowners, the number of different pressure points. Councillors may remember we did drop off maps for you that had arrows that showed all the different arrows around, which were largely different owners and different potential pressure points from the park's point of view. Not saying that there won't be development, but from the park's point of view. But it's about having, again, that plan so that you know, we won't get everything you put in a plan. Some of it may not be achievable, but at least you start with a good vision. And in terms of buying it, I do think you could leverage funds from, as you said, from the groups like Nature Trust. Mary Ellen mentioned that we've identified other lands that now Nature Trust is looking at. Because we are, a lot of times it's been surprising, people who own land around, even smaller amounts of land, have contacted us to say, we'd like to do something, we'd like an easement, or we'd like to have our land included in this because we value it. So, you know, maybe we're hearing of things that aren't coming to the city's attention. I'm not sure about which area the city had contacted all the owners. And we know the more difficult area is the one closer to Bears Lake, this high density populated area that I live in. But there are a lot of other areas on the Timberley side. It isn't well developed, and there's room, I think, to make progress over there. So again, we'd like to see a plan, and I think your plan starts with what would be the ideal looking park, and then then you have to start making compromises, I would say, as things actually unfold. But you try to identify and know what you're going for. That would be my answer. Maybe Dale or Mary Ellen want to add to that. We all have different sort of, backgrounds.
Well, I guess the only thing I would say on that, and Councillor Austin mentioned the lawsuit. The park is the guts of the park involves Susie Lake and Gorey Lake and Fox Lake, and that's the heart of the or the focus of the lawsuit. And there's difficult decisions that are going to have to be made. We're either going to have a fabulous regional wilderness park, or we're going to have something much, much less, depending on how that gets resolved.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much. Councillor Austin, are you good?
Yeah, I think that's good. Thank you.
And thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much.
For the question too, I'd like to say, Madam Chair, because we do appreciate a lot of good has been done. And I know Councillor Austin started with the 7 points. The first point really was to reaffirm the commitment to establishing the park. And I would definitely say Council has done that in your recent motions. And we want to say thank you for that, reaffirming of your vision. So thank you to all.
All right. And thank you for the presentation and being here with us this morning. Seeing no further speakers, we'll say thank you and have a great day to Diana Whalen, Dale Smith, and Mary Ellen Donovan. Thank you. Next up is item 10.3.2, and this is a smart meter project update from Nova Scotia Power. And joining us this morning is Mary Black, Nova Scotia Power Government Relations, and Stephen Pothier, who is Nova Scotia Power Director of Project Implementation. I do believe that Amy Woodford is also with us from Nova Scotia Power this morning. So I turn the stage over to you folks. Is anybody there?
Good morning. Mary Black is here.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning. And I'm just going to start my video, of course. Madam Chair, I want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity. Many of you I've had the fortune to meet in person, some only by email and some virtually. So I'm really glad to see all these familiar faces here this morning and let you know I've brought along a couple of my colleagues that are going to make the presentation, but I wanted to make sure to take a moment to say hello to everyone and certainly let some of the new council members see my face. And how interesting to hear from the Friends of Blue Mountain. That was interesting story to hear about their project project and learn more. So I'm now going to hand the video component over to my colleague, Amy Woodford. Amy is the Manager of Customer Relations, and some people in this room will be familiar with her name also. And then once Amy has completed our opening slide, we're going to hand it over to Steve Pothier, who's the Director of the Smart Meter Project, which is so important as it comes into the Peninsula area. So again, thanks for this opportunity, Madam Chair, Council, staff, and guests as well. So now I'm going to hand the video component and audio component over to Amy Woodford. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mary. Can everyone hear my audio okay? Great, and I just wanted to do a quick check, Mary. I'm not seeing our slide deck being displayed yet. Great. I think it's coming up now. Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for the introduction, Mary, and thank you to the committee for having us as guests. I'd echo Mary's comments that definitely recognize some of your names. Very pleased to be here today to have the opportunity to chat with you in person. And we'll do a quick overview of our government relations team, and then Steve will be the main event. So if you'd like to proceed to the next slide, please. Wonderful. So I just wanted to quickly highlight and remind folks that we do have a dedicated government relations channel for many elected officials and staff across the province. So many of you have had the opportunity to have some conversations either with myself or Mary, or some of you may recall working with Rob in the past. And so our dedicated channel provides an avenue for elected officials such as yourselves to have a direct line into customer relations and to our customer care group within Nova Scotia Power. And really our intent is to provide you with expedited assistance to answer any questions that you may be getting from your constituents, whether that is outage related or billing inquiries or tree trimming or projects such as this. We like to provide advanced information so that you are armed with the information that you might need and are able to answer any questions. So won't spend a lot of time on this as we've got 10 minutes. So thanks again for having us here, and I'll hand things over to Steve.
Thanks, Amy, and good morning, everybody. Just to check that you can hear me and see me okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All good.
And if you could maybe just go to the next slide. So I'm going to do a few slides on Nova Scotia Power's Smart Meter Project, which is well underway. And I'm just going to start a little bit with, why Smart Meter Project and why does it matter? And we often hear from customers about three common themes. Customers are looking for stable rates on their electricity. They're looking for improvements in reliability, and they're looking for cleaner energy. And smart meters really are a foundational project to help us achieve these three things on behalf of our customers. It's a major investment that Nova Scotia Power is making in modernizing our energy grid. We're going to invest a little over $130 million on the smart meter project. But the smart meter project not only brings benefits for customers, but it also helps the utility run more efficiently. And so it actually turns back over $38 million in savings for customers over the life of the project. So it's one of those things that will help us keep rates stable by investing in smart meter technology. If you'd go to the next slide for me. This is a super simplified version of what the smart meters are all about. And starting in the top left corner, obviously the piece that people see is really the smart meter itself, and that's the most visible piece for most customers. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. But we have about 500,000 smart meters that are rolling out across the province. Those smart meters record energy consumption in a level of detail that we've not been able to do in the past. So they're intelligent devices. They record much more information, and they actually establish a wireless communication network amongst themselves to transmit that information back to Nova Scotia Power. So the meters talk amongst themselves, and then they communicate to a data collector. We have about 500 of these data collectors, pole-mounted data collectors across the province. and from the meters to the data collector across a wireless network back to Nova Scotia Power's data center near Halifax, where that information is all gathered and assembled and used for a bunch of different purposes. The primary one being generating customers' electricity bills, but with the amount of information and the type of information we'll be gathering from these meters, we'll be able to do many more things. And one of the ones that will be most visible to customers is the ability to provide them access to energy usage information in a level of detail they've never been able to see before. So if most of you are customers of Nova Scotia Power, you would likely get a bill every 60 days and you have one piece of information on that bill, and that's your consumption over the last 60 days. And you really don't have any insight prior to getting the bill, what that bill might look like. So having the ability to see your energy consumption in a level of detail daily, weekly, monthly, hourly is going to be a transformational experience for our customers. So it's a quite a complex system, but this is it at a real sort of high level. If you just go to the next slide for me. So specifically about meters and meter upgrades, you can imagine that upgrading 500,000 meters across the province is a Herculean task. We have contracted that work out to a third party by the name of Tribus Services. So Tribus Services has been active doing meter upgrades since October of 2019. They work primarily out of two major warehouses, one in New Glasgow and one in Dartmouth in the Burnside area. And when you see them in your community, they're very visible. So they look just like Nova Scotia Power. That was very intentional. They're co-branded with Tribus and Nova Scotia Power. They're wearing, clothing that identifies them as associated with Nova Scotia Power, but they're clearly carrying a badge with them that shows their ID and that they're a unauthorized contractor of Nova Scotia Power. We wanted to be very clear with our customers that this is a Nova Scotia Power project, and this is our contractor doing work on our behalf. We've been safely doing meter upgrades since October of 2019. But we did obviously have the pandemic emerge in March of last year, and that caused us to take a little pause in meter upgrades while we reassessed our safety protocols and procedures. And happy to report that we've been back in the field doing meter upgrades since June of last year. And we've adapted all of our processes and procedures to make sure that we're following health recommendations and COVID protocols, including things like making sure our staff are wearing cloth masks, that they're providing social distancing. When they knock on the door, they'll back away to make sure that they're keeping that distance from customers, wiping high-touch surfaces, that sort of thing. We do regular weekly surveys with our customers following a meter upgrade. We continue to get fantastic feedback from our customers on their interaction with our meter installers in the field and with the safety protocols. We also try to we've been working really hard to try to make sure customers know that we're coming. And we continue to tweak and improve this. And it's important that our customers know that we're coming to do meter upgrades, that they understand the benefits, and that they understand their options and choices, including things like the option to opt out of smart meter service. So there is an opt-out option available to customers. If they choose not to have smart meter service, they can opt out, and there's a process for them to go through. But happy to report that we've had really great success with our meter installations in the field. And if you'll go to the next slide, I can give you a little update on sort of where we are in the province. So as mentioned, we have about 500,000 meters to install, and that work began in October of 2019. We hope to be complete by the middle of this year, or substantially complete by the middle of this year. So as of today, we've got about 375,000, probably closer to 380,000 meters across the province already installed. And we are actively starting our work in the peninsula of Halifax. So in the map, you can actually see that the bulk of HRM has already been completed, but we really started our focus on the peninsula of Halifax on the 6th of April. Pleased to report that things are going really quite well in the peninsula, but I'm sure that if you were driving around in the peninsula, you would see quite visibly, these Tribus employees, lots of these branded vehicles in neighborhoods across the city as we do meter upgrades. happy to report that in Metro in particular, customers have been quite receptive to smart meters. So our opt-out rates in Metro are actually lower than they are across the province. And in the peninsula, they're quite low. So down in the order of like 0.3% of our customers opting out. So really quite successful, I think, in HRM, and really making good progress in the peninsula. As mentioned, I would hope that we would be sort of substantially complete by the end of June of this year. On the next slide, if you'd go to the next one for us, just wanted to make sure that folks have some view of the benefits for customers around smart meter technology. I've mentioned one of them already, and that's access to daily usage information. So customers will have the ability to go online, whether that's a portal, a tablet, or sorry, a desktop, a tablet, a phone, and see their daily energy consumption, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, etc. So no less surprises, I think, for customer bills. We'll also be able to have customers set up notifications and alerts. I liken that to maybe getting some heads up. If you have a cellular data plan and you want to know when you've exceeded half of your data package for the month, you will be able to do something similar with your electricity bill. So if you're on a budget, or if you're concerned about your electricity costs, being able to get notices or notification of when you've exceeded a certain threshold is important to some of our customers. Smart meters will improve outage response. So the smart meters will report when they lose power and when power is restored to them. So they have the intelligence to let us know when the power goes out and when it comes back on. And that will be really helpful in terms of outage response, particularly in major storm events, as have become more frequent here in the province over the last number of years. Things like the elimination of manual meter readings, so no longer having to send trucks and employees on customers' property to read the meter. We'll be doing that remotely. We'll be able to do things like remote connection and disconnection of service. And with the advantage of more information on what's happening with energy consumption, certainly our ability for our customer care folks to support customers in their inquiries around energy usage and what's happening with their bill will be much improved. So lots of different benefits here for customers, in addition to providing efficiencies for the utility.
There's 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Next slide. And I think this is our last slide. And so I wanted to address head on some of the myths and mysteries of smart meters. So first of all, on a safety front, so we sometimes get concerns from customers about the safety of smart meters, particularly around fires. These meters are highly regulated, highly tested devices. They're UL certified, and I will go and say that on record and say that this province will be safer electrically from the risk of fires after we're done smart meters than before. So, we have 375,000 of these installed already with no cases of fires across the province. So not a concern from that perspective. We have concerns from customers about health risks associated with the fact that they are a wireless device, but like any wireless device in Canada, they're regulated by Health Canada for RF emissions. So no different than your Wi-Fi router or your cell phone. There's really not a concern for customers around RF emissions risk. And we have quite a bit of information on our website for customers to look at on that front. Quickly, the last two things, some concerns that smart meters cause bills to go up. That is actually not the case. So smart meters, digital meters, old analog meters, they're all regulated by Measurement Canada and go under the same quality assurance program in terms of the measurement of electricity. So if a customer is seeing an increase in their bill, it's driven by something other than a smart meter. So it could be a change in usage pattern, it could be weather, it could be they had a previous estimate. There's something else going on there, and we would encourage customers to reach out to our customer care center so we can help diagnose that. But there's no reason that a customer's bill should go up because of a smart meter. And lastly, secure information. So The only thing that's coming back with these smart meters is electricity information. There's nothing personally identifiable. There's no confidential information. There's no account or name or address or anything like that. It's simply electricity consumption information, and it is encrypted end to end from the meter all the way back to our data center. So some of the things that we hear from customers as concerns that we think are shouldn't be a concern for customers, and there's a lot of information available on our website to help customers get reliable information about the facts about smart meters. So that's, I think, the last of our slides, and happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Sounds like you folks have gone down a similar path to our friends at Halifax Water with regards to the smart meters, hearing a lot of similar points here. Opening up the floor now to questions and comments, and I see Councillor Austin has a comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Just one, I think at this point they're pretty much all replaced in my district, downtown Dartmouth area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing nods. So my only comment would be, I think the fact that the meter is on the outside of your house versus the Halifax water meter, which is inside the house, was made the job a whole lot easier, because I heard far more about water meters than I don't think I heard a peep from anyone about having their power meter changed over. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor Austin. Any other questions from members of committee? All right, seeing none, I will thank you so very much, Stephen and Mary and Amy. Much appreciated for the presentation and the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All right, have a great day. So next up is item number 11.
Sorry, believe just a moment.
Did we just lose our chair?
So
I believe Councillor Blackburn was briefly reassigned, but I believe she should be coming back just now.
Okay, Vice Chair. Oh, there she is.
Now's my chance to get some things done, right?
It's a coup.
You missed it.
Sorry about that. I have no idea what happened. I didn't touch a thing. Not sure where we left off, but we're at 12.1.1, which is case H00473, a background study toward the establishment of a heritage conservation district in downtown Halifax. And we don't have a presentation to go along with this, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't believe so, unless Seamus is here now. And
yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a presentation if the committee wishes to hear one.
All right, I'm seeing a few nods. So yes, let's go for the presentation and find out more about the Heritage Conservation District study.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll share my screen here. I don't seem to be able to share my screen, Simon.
just a moment. We will see if we can promote you to a co-host, and that may resolve the issue.
All right, thank you. And by the way, my name is Seamus McGrail. I'm a heritage planner with the Heritage Property Program, Planning and Development. I'm joined by my colleagues Erin Murnahan and Kurt Pyle today. So I'll be able to, after my presentation, be able to answer any questions or respond to your comments. And Erin and Kurt are also available to address any comments you may have. So I'm going to try sharing my screen again here. Okay.
We cannot see the presentation as of this time. Oh, hold
I'm
on.
going to bring it up here. So, Can you see that there?
We can see the presentation, but it's not full screened. I believe it's still in its browser form.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I might have to share my other screen here. Is that better there?
Unfortunately not. We can't see the full screen there.
Okay. I'm going to share my other screen, my screen number 1 here.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And I will share that. Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So thanks again, Madam Chair. Again, my name is Seamus McGrail. I'm with the Heritage Property Program, Senior Heritage Planner. This is a background study, and it's toward the establishment of a new Heritage Conservation District in downtown Halifax. This report comes from a policy in the downtown Halifax, Policy 34, which has been in place since 2009 to establish a heritage district around the historic properties and Granville Mall area. It also comes from a motion of council to expand that area further to the south to take in many of the heritage resources around Province House. So HRM currently has 3 heritage conservation districts in place, one along Barrington Street, which was established in 2009, Schmidtville, just outside of downtown, established in 2018, and then our newest heritage conservation district, the Old South suburb, was established in 2020.
Seamus, I'm just going to interrupt you. Sorry about that, Seamus. We can only see the first slide, and it's not in full screen mode.
Okay. I'll have to.
So you may have to start the presentation.
Okay. I'm going to try to screen 1, share, and then can you see that? Is that better?
We cannot see the presentation as of this time. We see a screen, dark screen that says that you've started screen sharing, but it's not display it.
Okay, I'm just going to try.
We do see it now, Seamus. It's on the slide number 2, but it's not in full screen mode.
Okay. It's just a matter of trying to get it over to. I'll drag that over here.
I'd prefer if the presentation can be sent by email to my email. I can share my screen and possibly advance slides for staff.
Okay. Sure. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen for now, and sorry about that. So I'll send this on to you, Simon. So that has been sent on to you, Simon, and I'll wait for you to bring the presentation up.
There may be just a brief waiting period. I'm just refreshing my email, waiting for the email to be delivered.
All right. Should we take a quick 10-minute break while this is straightened out, or are you figuring it's?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I've just got it now, so it's just opening.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I
think
believe
we're
I've
on
displayed
slide.
the share.
All right, we can see the slides. I think we're good to go. Seamus, go ahead, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. So if you just go to slide number 3, Simon. I think that's where we left off. So Heritage Conservation District, and we have 3 of them in place in Halifax. Barrington Street, Schmidtville, and our latest one, Old South Suburb, which was established in 2020. Heritage Conservation District is essentially an area of historic or architectural value. It allows for the municipality to introduce conservation measures around such things as demolition controls, controls over exterior alterations to heritage properties, to set design guidelines for new development, and to supply incentives for financial incentives for heritage property owners to fix up their properties. It also allows for amendments to land use bylaws to ensure appropriate development in the area within the boundaries of the district. If you could advance slide, Simon. So as I mentioned, there are 3 heritage conservation districts. Schmidtville is just outside the boundaries of downtown Halifax. This map is showing the downtown Halifax boundaries and the 2 heritage conservation districts within those boundaries, Barrington Street and Old South Suburb. The historic properties, as I mentioned, there's a policy in the plan to develop a heritage conservation district to include Granville Mall and historic properties. We also have a direction from Regional Council to extend the boundaries of the historic properties further south to encompass many of the heritage resources around Province House Square. If you can advance slide, Simon. So this is what is proposed for the boundaries of the new Heritage Conservation District. Essentially includes a new area that we refer to as the capital area, and it encompasses much of the downtown between Granville Mall historic properties and Sackville Street, taking in approximately 40 registered heritage properties and many unregistered heritage resources as well. And we are going to combine this area with the Barrington Street and Old South Suburb Heritage Conservation District to form one larger new Heritage Conservation District. And there's several reasons for why we are proposing this. The land use bylaw for downtown Halifax currently includes design guidelines for a new development. Center Plan Package B is proposing to remove these design guidelines from the land use bylaw and incorporate them in the body of the land use bylaw itself. So Barrington Street and Old South Suburb need to be amended to attach these design guidelines to the HCD bylaws. So these Barrington Street and Old South Suburb need to be amended anyways. So we see this as an opportunity to amend Barrington Street and Old South Suburb along with the introduction of the Capital District area. I know that it's a bit complicating, but it allows us to amend the 2 existing heritage conservation districts and to establish one larger HCD for the downtown. It also Barrington Street and Old South Suburb will remain as part of the downtown Halifax plan when Center Plan Package B is introduced. This will allow us to retain certainty for development applications that are ongoing within these 2 districts as well, and to ensure that the design guidelines that currently apply remain in place until we readopt these districts as part of this new larger expanded area. So I can answer questions on that later after the presentation if you require some clarification. Next slide, Simon. So the process to establish a heritage conservation district is divided into three main phases. The first phase is initiation and adoption of the background study, which is the phase we're in now. The background study becomes a legal document if and when regional council approves it. The document is sent to the minister responsible for the Heritage Property Act for their approval, and it becomes a legal document which scopes provides the scope for the planning for the Heritage Conservation District Plan and Bylaw. Once that scope is established through the background study, we enter the community engagement and drafting phase for the Heritage Conservation District Plan and Bylaw. And subsequent to that, the draft is sent through Heritage Advisory Committee and back through this committee and for adoption by Regional Council. Next slide, please. So last year, Regional Council adopted a new public participation program for heritage conservation districts. And this is the public participation program that we will be following for the establishment of this HCD. It involves a Heritage Advisory Committee. So HAC will be holding one initial public meeting to present this background study to the public and to have some initial discussions around some of the planning aspects of a heritage conservation district. And it'll hold a second public meeting to discuss the draft Heritage Conservation District Plan and Bylaw, as well as any proposed amendments to the land use bylaw, the underlying land use bylaw. And that includes heights framework, built form frameworks, and things like that. So there's two required meetings, but we'll also be holding some public workshops with the community to ensure that all of the input necessary is put into this plan. And all members of Heritage Advisory Committee will be kept up to date on a regular basis to ensure that they are kept up to speed on the planning. Next slide, please. So the Heritage Conservation District's regulations set out four provisions for a background study, what a background study should address. These include the rationale or justification for heritage conservation measures in the district, as well as a rationale for the boundaries. And it asks the municipality to look at the relationship of these proposed measures with any existing municipal or provincial policies that affect the area. And finally, it asks the municipality to consider any social or economic implications of these conservation measures. So the rest of the presentation, I'll be addressing these four items of the regulations. Next slide, please. So in terms of the rationale for the heritage conservation measures, it's based largely around the heritage value of these three areas of this proposed heritage conservation district. The capital area is part of the original town of Halifax, is arguably the oldest built community in HRM. It's part of the original town. It's the seat of both the provincial and municipal governments, and it was and remains an important center of commerce and waterfront industry. The Old South suburb, as you know, is the first contiguous suburb of the old town of Halifax. It includes great examples of Georgian and Victorian residential architecture. And Barrington Street was laid out as the principal arterial street, which later became the main commercial street of Halifax in the late 19th century. Next slide, please. And the rationale for heritage conservation measures also is part of the development pressure in this area. As you know, there's a great deal of development pressure in downtown Halifax. It includes some of the most valuable real estate in Halifax and Nova Scotia. So there's a lot of pressure for redevelopment to the Cogswell redevelopment project, just abutting the district to the north is coming online. And that'll likely see a lot of more development interest in the areas around that area. So it's kind of a good circumstance that this Heritage Conservation District is coming online around the same time as the Cogswell redevelopment project. And a recent analysis by staff has determined that at least 50% of non-registered potential heritage resources in the downtown, which were identified as part of the downtown plan in 2009, have been demolished. So I believe there were about 100 properties identified as having potential heritage resources, and we've lost about 50 of those resources in downtown Halifax since 2009. So we know that there are a lot of risk to heritage resources, and having strong conservation measures in place will help to secure those heritage resources. Next slide, please. In terms of the rationale for the boundary, a boundary which encompasses the existing Barrington Street North South suburb area, as well as this new area called the capital area, will allow for consistency in the administration of these three areas in terms of the heritage policies that apply. It will boost community interest in cultural heritage tourism in all three areas equally. So we'll have a plan for streetscaping and interpretive signage to ensure that all three areas are and the entire Heritage Conservation District is promoted as a cultural heritage resource for tourism and for residents to enjoy. And the boundary encompasses contributing heritage resources, including building structures and open spaces of heritage value. So that's how the boundary is drawn. Next slide, please. In terms of the approach to heritage conservation measures, there are four main goals identified in the background study. The first goal is to conserve the historic integrity of downtown Halifax. Next goal is to accommodate residents and visitors by revitalizing aging buildings, actually encouraging new development, because new development is an important means of revitalizing aging buildings when you can have this integrated development. But while ensuring that the scale and character of the area is also protected. To promote the downtown Halifax HCD as a cultural heritage destination, and to establish consistent policies and programs that also address the unique challenges and needs of these specific areas. Now, I'll just talk briefly about some of the planning implications of this HCD, proposed HCD. Next slide, please. So in terms of the first goals of conserving the historic integrity of downtown Halifax and establishing consistent policies. Currently, Barrington Street was established in 2009, and our last Heritage Conservation District was established in 2020. There are inconsistencies in the way these two districts are administered currently. For example, Old South Suburb includes contributing heritage resources, language around specific heritage resources that have special policy sets, whereas Barrington Street doesn't include those discussions around contributing heritage resources. It assumes that all properties have equal protection. There are also processes where regional council has to consider substantial alterations to heritage resources in the Old South Suburb, whereas the heritage officer approves changes to buildings in Barrington Street. So the idea is to come up with a consistent policy set in terms of the processes for these two districts, and to apply the best approaches to this new area that we're creating in the capital area here, and to apply the best practices that we can determine from both the Barrington Street and Old South Suburb plans to this new area. Next slide, please. We'll also be revisiting the heights and built form frameworks for downtown Halifax within the HCD boundaries. As you can see, Granville Mall now, for example, includes a 22-meter height over the heritage resources along Granville Mall. So this is the kind of development that you would see if these properties were to redeveloped today. So it's just about re-examining the heights framework and the built form frameworks that are in place to ensure that the community and council have the opportunity to determine what is the best way forward in terms of new development in this district. And we can do that through a number of means, through height measures, zoning, setbacks, step backs. So there's a lot of discussion to be had around appropriate new development in this district, in this area. Next slide, please, Simon. Streetscape elements are another point of discussion as well. As I mentioned, there's a goal to really center downtown Halifax as a cultural heritage destination for residents to come and visit and for visitors to explore. So streetscaping is a big part of that. Having a standard streetscape elements such as benches and lighting standards across the 3 different areas, connecting these areas visually to one another. Looking at existing elements of the streetscape, such as you see here, statues, monuments, and determining which ones are of historic value and which ones are not, which ones can be removed as part of a redevelopment of streetscapes, and which ones should really stay. For example, that concrete bridge over Hollis Street from the 1960s, is that something that is of heritage value that should be protected, or can it be redeveloped by our traffic and right-of-way folks? So ultimately, anything that is determined to be of historic significance, regional council will have the opportunity to review the heritage significance and make that determination, working with our right-of-way people. Next slide, please. And finally, the background study addresses some of the social and economic implications of a new heritage conservation district. These heritage districts show that the community identity is strengthened through the establishment of these districts. The areas become more pronounced, the branding and community identity really draws visitors in. Preservation of a human-scaled environment. These traditional heritage neighborhoods are traditionally human-scaled, and by preserving these heritage resources, we're preserving that scale of development that people enjoy. Public education will be a big part of it. Interpretive panels. We have a heritage app now that we can build on, that people can access information about the heritage buildings on their smartphone devices. Sustainable development is another key aspect of heritage conservation. By retaining the embodied energy in these buildings, it reduces our impact on climate change. It helps new development. Financial incentives for heritage buildings is another aspect of the program. There's going to be financial incentives. Council just approved a financial incentives program for Old South Suburb and Schmidtville, and we can introduce something similar for the capital area and in Barrington. And there was a 10-year program in Barrington Street to help revitalize that street as well, and we can continue some of those investments in the districts. And of course, increase cultural heritage tourism to the areas as well by branding the area as a unique place for people to visit. I know Downtown Halifax Business Commission has recently created some banners to put up in Old South Suburb to promote that area and to delineate it as a place to visit and to experience. Next slide, please. So in terms of the process to establish Heritage Conservation District, there's several steps involved. It begins with the adoption of a public participation program and background study, which are submitted to the minister. Once the minister approves these documents, we can begin the consultation phase. Throughout the consultation phase, we begin drafting the Heritage Conservation District Plan and Bylaw. We give once the public participation program has been satisfied, we give notice of intention to hold a public hearing to adopt these plans and bylaws. We provide public access to the documents. We hold a public hearing. After council, if and when council makes a decision to approve the Heritage Conservation District, these documents go back to both the minister responsible for the Heritage Property Act and the minister responsible for municipal affairs if there's amendments to the land use bylaw. And once we receive a minister's decision on these documents, we give notice of approval, and the HCD plan and bylaw are put into effect, and we can then begin developing the programs and administration to support these new districts. Next slide, please, Simon. In terms of the recommendations before the committee, staff are recommending that the background study contained in the attachment A of the report be accepted by Regional Council, and that the municipality follow the public participation program that was adopted last year by Regional Council to gather public feedback into the process. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As I mentioned, I can take any questions, and Aaron Murnahan and Kurt Pyle are also on hand to answer any questions.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Seamus. Much appreciated. Do any members of committee have questions of clarification of Seamus and the team? If not, can I get somebody to put the motion on the table, please?
I can do that, Lisa.
All right, go for it.
All right. I move that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Regional Council 1 accept the background study contained in Attachment A of the March 2nd, 2021 report to initiate the process to establish a heritage conservation district in downtown Halifax, and 2, follow the public participation program for HCDs adopted by Regional Council on November 17th, 2020, as contained in Attachment B of the March 2nd, 2021 report to obtain public input on the proposed Downtown Halifax Conservation Plan and bylaw in accordance with Section 6 of the Heritage Conservation District's regulations.
Seconded, Councillor Lovelace.
All right, we have a mover and a seconder. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Seamus, for that thorough presentation, taking us through kind of the whole strategy and what's been done to date and where we're going forward and its importance. I think the 4 goals that you talked about, how they're really important in that they acknowledge and place value on our unique heritage assets, which is such an important part of our city's identity, and really brings understanding to our history of place. They kind of reflect our origins and kind of anchor our city in its historical place, which is we're unique that way across Canada. I think we have something really, really special to offer, and it's important to protect it. I also really appreciate how you highlighted the role that new development can play in our historic city, and that when it's done right, it can really enhance our built heritage and create something that is truly unique, that's of value not only to those of us that live here, but to those who visit as well and kind of appreciate what we have to offer to the world. People don't come here just to see new buildings. Our strength is really, I think, in our ability to harmonize, the new and the old, in creating a great place to live. So, thank you very much, and I am in support of this motion.
All right, spoken like a true planner. Thank you so much. Councillor Lovelace.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for this presentation. I'm excited. Like this is such good news. And I just really wanted to kind of pull out that overarching sort of goal of capitalizing on the uniqueness of each of these communities. This isn't a melting pot, right? And so making sure that we're addressing each of those, unique communities in a way that amplifies the value that each of them brings to this, and also highlights. I mean, you know, we can go to any large city or even small cities in Europe, for example, to see those very distinct kind of communities and what they have to offer. And so I just wanted to say I love this, and I'm happy to support it. And thank you. This is just such great news. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Seeing no further requests for comment, I'll call for the question. Question has been called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Seamus. Really, really appreciate that. And looking forward to moving on to the next steps. All right, so item 12.1.2 has been deleted from the order of business. So we move on to 12.2, members of standing committee. We have no motions there. Community Design Advisory Committee, nothing from them. The Heritage Advisory Committee, nothing from them either. We have no motions at item 13. We have no reason to go in camera, and Mr. Clerk, we don't have any added items that I am aware of.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No added items from the clerk's office's perspective.
Beautiful. All right. Do we have any notices of motion? Any members with notices of motion? No? All right. Then seeing none, then I invite you to join us for our next meeting, which is going to be on May the 20th, 2021. And our final order of business, Councillor Purdy, if you would please take us to adjournment, please.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
I thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Simon, and the clerk's office crew for all your assistance today. We couldn't do these without you, so much appreciated. Everyone have a great day. Get out